is it about this guy? When I feel his love, I feel like I'm on top of the world.
There are things you don't know
Hi, officer. I think I must be lost.
that will shock you beyond your worst nightmare.
Making a biopic on the crimes of Ted Bundy, a law student who in the 1970s was found guilty of killing several women, is a tall order, not only because of the scope and scale of his crimes, but also because of the uncomfortable cult of personality that surrounds someone like Bundy. Serial killers are a well-worn trope of media, but one of the reasons why the legacy of Bundy has endured is because he's so normal looking. Some would call him a good looking guy who pleaded his innocence during his extensively documented murder trial, where dozens of women would flock to the courthouse to watch him act as his own defense attorney because he was so charming, confident, and for some people, really handsome.
You look nice, partner.
I'm disguised as an attorney today.
I get very scared, but, he's also really dreamy.
This isn't like a white-collar true crime film like The Wolf of Wall Street. This is the story of a real monster, so it's easy to fall into the trap of glorifying the guy. It almost makes sense that when the trailer dropped for this film a few months ago, that some considered it to be celebrating him, but that's the true nightmare of this story, outside of the numerous victims of his crimes, that he did really come across that well to so many people, and that's probably a big part as to why he got away with the things he did for so long. For example, these are actual t-shirts that you can currently buy online. Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile, which, believe it or not, does not draw its title from the career of Katie Hopkins, isn't the first movie to try and tackle the subject matter, but it's easily the most high profile, coming from director Joe Berlinger, who also directed a Netflix documentary series on Ted Bundy from a few months back, so he's certainly qualified on the story. Zac Efron has the role of Bundy, with Lily Collins playing his girlfriend Elizabeth Kendall, to whom the story owes a partial credit to, as it's based off her biography. That's where the story starts off with the best of intentions, depicting Bundy from her point of view, and how the man of her dreams, who is a great father figure to her young daughter, is a promising lawyer and looks like that guy from High School Musical, can actually be a monster. That's certainly where the movie starts from, but as it progresses and gets to Bundy's arrests, his initial trials for kidnapping, his numerous escapes, etc., the film completely loses focus of Liz Kendall and just becomes a standard Ted Bundy story and goes a bit off the rails. I think what's gone wrong here is that Efron is so genuinely good as Bundy that the film gets swept up in his performance and the twisted performative aspect of Bundy's nature. As Liz watches the trial from her TV at home, we get Jim Parsons as the prosecutor, just matter-of-factly stating how Bundy treated his victims and the extent of their injuries, and while that might have been the best approach to not immerse the audience in his savagery, it also feels like something you want to see Liz reacting to and coming to terms with the fact that this person lived in her house, raised her daughter, and the two were engaged to be married. The film is so initially committed to this angle of her being the POV character that if you knew nothing about the story of Ted Bundy and watched this movie, the reveal of his guilt could actually come across as a third act twist, which I think is a fascinating and potentially unique approach to take to this story, but Liz is so barely present in the film after the first act, and there's so little shown in the film between Liz and Ted meeting and Ted going on trial, that the film completely bungles its own premise. The movie's edit, which is where I'm assuming many of the issues here stem from, turns Lily Collins' potentially affecting point of view character into a footnote with very little to contribute. It also doesn't help that by the nature of the story, Liz isn't even geographically near Bundy during the trial, so the distance aspect really hinders any potential drama between the two. As much as Lily Collins tries, her character is just the girlfriend in this story, and the setup of her new partner, played here by Haley Joel Osment, just feels really off. When the film is working, oddly enough, it's when it's in standard biopic mode, depicting Ted Bundy's trial, but that's mainly because Zac Efron really shines here. We've known for a while that Efron is a hugely versatile talent, and if his new look is Oscar bait movies, then it's a good look for him. He's also a big part as to why the initial premise of the movie works, because he is so unassuming, but he also has the physicality to get across the brutality of Bundy, which isn't shown here and is rarely implied. Anyone expecting a film breaking down what Bundy did, how he did it, and the aftermath aren't going to find it here, but because the film also doesn't commit to being a straight-up retelling of Ted or even Liz's story, then the film just kind of wallows in the crime drama that a lot of its audience will already know. Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile doesn't really work, but it is an oddly fascinating piece that I imagine is a director's cut away from being something special. The pieces and intent are certainly there, they're just not played in the correct way, and I can see a lot of people who got angry at the trailer also being angry at the movie, barely paying lip service to Bundy's 30-plus victims. That's not my hill to die on, but this movie's mismanaged tone and narrative approach will certainly give that audience a lot of ammunition to work with. In the meanwhile, I'm giving Extremely Wicked, Shockingly Evil and Vile 2 stars out of 5.
This case is about catching a monster.
Ladies and gentlemen, I am that innocent suspect.
You are skating on thin ice, partner.